Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for a pull workout. Uh, Changing it up a little bit here. Some of it was because of my shoulder, which is actually feeling good, but I feel like I need to just have some slight exercise variation because the heavy pull-ups all the time, heavy weighted pull-ups for low reps day in, day out, really seems to have taken its toll on my delt, and actually the overhead pressing doesn't bother it. So I decided to just do rows for a little while, and it's the interesting thing about rows, and we'll get to that in a minute. Went ahead and did my deadlift first. I think I went ahead and got 3 reps today with this for the hook grip. Right now I'm just got to rebuild the hook grip, and I figure while I'm rebuilding my posterior chain after some detraining and the pull and everything, we'll let my hook grip determine my deadlift strength, and I think that's totally reasonable. That's going to be my limiting factor as I build it back up, and I'm doing other back and posterior chain work, right? So it doesn't matter. The deadlift doesn't have to be on point. It doesn't have to be back where I had it, as long as we get there eventually. And yes, guys, I will hit a 600-pound hook grip deadlift. It will happen. It's going to take time. It'll be interesting if I get there once I'm in the 190s on body weight. Be pretty good for a master's guy. We're going to keep working towards it, though. But that hook grip has got to come up, and this is how we build it. Every pull workout, we're going to do a limit set as far as what my hook grip can handle for some reps. I went ahead and did 5x5 on Barbell Rows, and yes, I know it's not a completely strict pin lay, a little bit of body English in there, and that's okay. The thing that gets brought up with rows, I almost need to make a separate video on this, and I probably will. I do not feel rows in my back. I do not feel rows in my back, ever. I have never felt a lat exercise in my back in my entire life. Now, the silly-ass bodybuilders will go, oh, that's lack of mind muscle connection. I will meet guys with a smaller back than me who, when they meet me in person, guys, the internet's one thing, guys. It's one thing for you to have this idea, oh, this person looks like this online. People meet me, it's definitely a different response. And people only want to see the stuff when they show me next to someone who's 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". That's always the ones that people want to show online. You put anyone under 6 foot tall next to me, different ball game. So the point is, my back is something people note all the time. Even when I've been shirtless or anything lately, it has been noted, even by women who lift, that my back is ridiculous. I don't feel any exercises in my back. I have no mind muscle connection to my lats. My lats do not feel anything on any exercise ever. Yet they're big. So where do I feel rows? Biceps. My biceps cramp at the end of every set. I almost have to massage my biceps after every set of rows I do. They actually cramp. Pull-ups are almost as intense on the biceps, but not as much as rows for me. So arguably, I don't know, we'll see what happens with my arms. Since I'm doing these cheat curls at the end, and I'm doing these pin lay rows for a little while. Well, not real pin lay, whatever, rows. Rows should be done from the floor anyways. That's the point I always make. All barbell rows should be done off the floor. This whole trying to hold on to it, that's silly nonsense. That's why guys end up needing a strap for it instead of building their grip. Do rows off the floor. Do them explosively. How much body English you use might be what you determine if it's a pin lay row, which is like a super strict row, or just a regular row. And I just count these as a barbell row, right? That's what I'd call these. These are just a barbell row. And that's fine. What I'm doing here is acceptable if you're running one of my programs and I call for a barbell row and you want to cheat just a little bit like I'm doing, that's okay. But make sure you reset it on the floor, and notice you lock the elbows at the bottom. Get that stretch. But I feel these in my biceps. Now as to how much bicep growth that'll cause remains to be seen. Did notice I get that vein and everything going? Yeah, it's forearm and bicep exercise for me. I decided today to try glute bridges. All right, I'm still learning the exercise. I've never done one of these before in my entire life. Sold on the idea with hip thrusts, and I feel like I need the extra posterior chain movement. I will say my hamstrings were lit up after 5 sets of this. Now, because I'm still learning the exercise, this is not a super heavy weight, right? I'm still getting in the position. Some of them I'm struggling to kind of get that contraction until I get in the groove. But I went ahead and cranked out, I think, like 7 or 8 reps on the last set, just trying to figure out where I need to be, which means I definitely need to increase the weight next time a little bit, keep learning the exercise. Felt them in my hamstrings. Now, you go look at the EMG data. Honestly, they're just as good on everything but the quads as the hip thrust, right? From what I've seen, they don't hit the quads as effectively. Now that I'm squatting again, my quads are actually already sore. My quads will grow from squats. I don't need anything else for my quads. People who don't believe that, remember when we've seen pictures of me wearing short shorts and stuff in the past. When I was squatting anywhere near 500 or more, my quads are massive whenever my squat strength is up. I'm not worried about it. I do need the extra posterior chain stuff, and I feel like this is enough of an exercise. It'll add some extra muscle to some areas I've pulled or detrained, things like that. You can do a fair amount of volume with a big heavy weight on it. Not super hard to recover from. I can treat this as a reasonable volume exercise that I can do 5x5 or more with, continue to progress on it, and not difficult to recover from. So I think it's going to be something I'm going to try to work on as a mainstay, because I don't have the best bench for a hip thrust. My bench is taller than average. It makes it difficult, and I don't want to go invest $500 in a scorcher. So at least now, maybe down the road, it might be worthwhile. If I feel like I need the hip thrust instead of the glute bridge, I'll invest in one. But at this point, I feel like I'm $6,000 into my home gym. I just don't feel like investing more into it. I feel like I should be able to get everything I need out of what I have. I've got a lot invested. It should be more than enough. So yeah, my hamstrings were lit up on these. Yeah, I definitely did feel the glutes, but like I said, what you feel isn't always everything, but my hamstrings are most definitely throbbing at the end of these. So that's good. We're going to get some good posterior chain work, some decent core work. I think this will come along nicely as a good accessory movement, which is still a big compound movement done with a barbell and a heavy weight. I think it'll work well as I'm bringing my squat and deadlift back up. If anything, just to bring up some of those weak links and hopefully help with injury prevention in the future. That's all I'm looking at it for. It's debatable, and I think there's good biomechanics that show that this may not carry over to a squat at all. May not carry over to your squat at all. So you might double your strength on this exercise and not see a significant increase on the squat. And it's because even though the muscles are involved and the muscle mass matters, glutes are very rarely your limiting factor on a squat. They very rarely are. Yes, they get worked. Yes, you can build glutes squatting. But this is going to be a little more direct, and the glutes are generally not a limiting factor. So you could probably reach a threshold very quickly with this exercise to where the additional glute hypertrophy just isn't going to contribute much to your squats until your quads and your back are up to par, right? Quads are almost always your limiting factor on a squat unless you've done a bunch of silly shit like one-legged work, right? The only people whose back becomes a limiting factor on the squat are jackasses who do a bunch of leg presses and one-legged work, and then their back's a limiting factor. For people who squat and deadlift as primary exercises, that doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. Don't let anybody tell you that. So these are going to help, I think, as far as injury prevention. It's just going to make sure all those muscles are big. It's going to help keep my metabolism higher because, again, we need to maximize lower body hypertrophy to keep my energy turnover higher, right? I'm trying to recomp as I continue this cut. And every ounce of muscle I can gain anywhere is beneficial to keeping my caloric burn as high as possible, right? Holding onto an extra pound of muscle is going to matter a hell of a lot when I get down to 200 or less, and I'm trying to not restrict calories too much. So muscle retention is everything. These curls, I lost count of reps. I decided to just do them until I got fatigued, right? Rest paused it as I got through there. Because I'm only doing the one set. I do in just the one set. And this is just as a finishing movement, just to make sure my biceps are getting some work every one of these pull workouts. And so I'm taking it all the way out, right? Which means rest pause, taking it to pretty much all I can handle. Yes, I'm obviously getting a pump, but I get a pump off low reps. Like my biceps get a pump off of those 5-rep rows, right? They're getting a pump off that. So, this is just a little bit more. But yeah, my arms are definitely working. Someone commented my arms look bigger lately. Yeah, they probably are bigger. I mean, look at all the work I've done. Look at the DEXA scans. And I'm losing fat. So I'm losing fat, and my arms did gain a little bit of size between one of those scans, just from some of the extra work, all the chin-ups and pull-ups and pressing, and the little bit of arm work that I've done here or there probably adds up a lot. So they probably have grown. At least the DEXA scan shows they may have. So that's a good thing. I'm not going to complain, I'll live with it. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.